Okay, we're just gonna do a little video series. I'm wiring some lights on our stump grinder trailer here. The trailers for hauling the old Vermeer here. It had Harbor Freight wire on it, and of course that all rotted away and was not working well. So I've got the lights popped out here. I cut the old Harbor Freight harnesses off, left my color codes. I know what they are, but I always leave them just in case. That's what this is. So I'm gonna take my grounds off, clean them up, rewire them. I've got new wire here that I ran. Put it under the trailer here. So the new wire goes through a hole that I've drilled in the frame that goes into the light box. And then it goes into this piece of square tube that goes all the way across the back of the trailer over to this side. I've got two holes. Let's see if I can get where you can see it. I forgot the GoPro, so we're going to do this on my phone. I've drilled two holes on my metal shavings because I just drilled a second hole. I only had one hole before. So, there we go. I've got two holes drilled there. And then I've tucked the wire up above some of the cross members in the frame. You can kind of see it up there running across. And then working in the gravel. Comes up, and I've got it tucked up inside of here. Through there, and then it goes into the tongue tube. You can kind of see that orange tube runs up here. Then it comes out of the tongue tube up there, and then I've just kind of ran it through that little station there. Do yourself a favor whenever you're wiring lights and give yourself more than enough tail here. In case it ever gets drug or something happens to it, you got some wire left over to fix it. I usually try and come down through my tongue and then down the driver's side of the trailer. On the driver's side is where I'll split it. So I poked my wire. I've got both wires coming through here, and I split it, and then it goes back in, goes across, and comes out over here. So I'll end up having to wire my green wire, which is the right-hand turn, back together by doing that, but it's not a big deal. Yellow is left turn, the brown is taillights, and the white wire is, let's see if you can see it there, and white wire is ground, obviously. No focus, there we go. So this is just 4-wire. If you add 6-wire, you get electric brakes and an accessory wire and or charging wire, whatever you'll use it for, and 7-wire just adds one more that can be used for auxiliary and have a charging. So I'll try and do a little how-to of how I'm going to wire this up for anyone that wants to know how to wire trailer lights, at least on a 4-wire. So it'll be off and on video, but here we go. Okay, see if we can see what I'm doing here. I don't know how well this will work, but I've got a razor blade and my wires here where they're cut. I'm measuring back, giving myself plenty of room to strip and solder and shrink tube wires. So I'm just going to take this razor blade and make a little notch here. I'm bending the wire in a manner that I can see inside there. I'm trying to be careful not to cut the wires inside. So by bending and rotating it here like this, I can see in there when I've cut through just the casing and not the casing of the wire. And then that just pulls right off. Do the same thing on the other one. sharp razor blade. This is the best way I've found to do this. So, just be patient. Be careful. If you split all your wires, then you're going to have shorting issues. So put that off. Okay, this is my wire that I have running across, making sure here. So going to the other side, yellow does not go over there. So just to avoid confusion. So I'm gonna do this with one hand. I'm going to reach in there and snip off just the yellow wire out of there, because I only need these three to go to the other side, but I'm not going to try and pull that. Oh, looking in the wrong spot. There we go. I only need these three wires: taillight, ground, and right hand. The left hand has no need to go over there, so I just nip it off because it's coming in here from the truck, and this is going to get wired to the left hand light and not cross. It just stays here. So I already did that. On the other side, stripped it back and nipped my yellow wire off. So again, this is just how I wire trailers. It usually works very well for me, so just some tips and tricks here. Okay, let's see if that will hold up for recording. So first thing I'm going to do is my green wire goes across to the other side. It has nothing to do with over here. So I don't have any good wire strippers here. So we're going to use the razor blade. Same concept as stripping the first set of sheathing. I'm just going around the wire far enough back that I got enough to work with. Try not to cut the wire inside. Cut it, rock it around a little bit, make sure nothing's attached, and pop it off. So unfortunately I don't have any shrink tube. So we're going to do this with electric tape. If you're going to shrink tube, you could slip it on after you're done when you do it this way. If you butt the wires together, then you have to put it on first, obviously. So again, I solder with a little butane torch. It's a lot faster. So we're going to heat our wire up a little bit. Try not to get it too hot. A little bit of solder on there. Come on. Behave yourself. And then if I heat it, come on. There it goes. More. And there we go. So I put the solder on top of the wire. I just kind of drip it on there, and then I heat from the other side, and you'll see the wire suck the solder in, and that's when it's connected. So let's see here. I really hate grounding to the trailer, so we're going to ground. I'm going to harness ground this. So we're going to take this off. I'm not going to worry about the ground there. We're going to get rid of these stupid things. This was before I learned how to solder. This trailer's been years ago. So let me get myself a little bit of extra on my ground wire here. That's real healthy wire. And then we've got Signal wire doesn't have to be too long because it's only going to be one. These wires are definitely easier with strippers. I highly recommend strippers for them. And black should be my taillight. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll do, let's see, we'll do taillights first. So tail is your brown. So I'll strip both of the taillight wires. And then I'm going to take my taillight wires and twist them together like such. Now, wiggle myself. Black is taillights, so then I take the taillight wire on the other side. Hopefully you can see this. And I just kind of wrap it around there. So that's going to be out of the camera. But we're going to solder that together like so. Try not to melt my casing here. Take a piece of crap. Alright, well, this old wire, because I didn't get any new plugs, was kind of hard to solder. So I ended up melting the casing a little bit. It's preferred that you don't do that, but it's not that huge of a deal. I'll make sure to tape it far enough back that we don't have to worry about that. So, anywho, that's wire that goes across is wired together. The rest of them are going to get done like this, where I tie the wires together and add this one. So I'm going to do the rest and then I'll show you. Okay, we're going to see if this, there we go, if this will solder any better than the last one. The last one I spun them together like I did the green wire, and then I tried to wrap the old wire. This time I partially twisted them. I laid my old wire in the twist, and then I encased it in the old wire, and then twisted the tail around. So I'm going to solder that, and we'll see if that works any better. This old wire, you can see it's black and nasty. It doesn't want to take the solder. And I don't have time to go get a pigtail, so we'll see how this works. Okay, that worked. Come on. Focus. There, that worked a little better. I suck at soldering. I can glue wires together, but I'm not awesome at it. So, I still burn my wires a little bit. Oh. You can kind of see that one right there is a little burned. But it stuck together better, so that's cool. Now I'm going to take the yellow wire, and it's just going to get put onto the, let's see if I can look at what I'm looking at here. I'm going to take my yellow wire and hook it to the signal wire for this side, because this is the side it goes on. The taillights are crossed to power this side and the other side. The ground is crossed, it's going to power this side and the other side, and my green is just diverted to go to the other side. So we'll solder that one together, and then I'll tape all these connections up, and that'll be this side. Okay, so all my soldering is done. This one, anywho, since it doubles back into the wire harness, I'm just going to tape it like it is. These two will just get taped like there, but this one, since it goes straight through more or less, I'm just going to bend that wire over, and it's going to get taped in line like this. Stupid focus on my phone sucks. There it is. There it goes. Anywho, you get the gist. Okay, I got all these taped up. The difficult one is this one that's just a stub, because you want to try and tape past and then fold that over and wrap it with tape so that it fully encases the end like so. That way you don't get any kind of shorting, because it's inside the steel box here. And then I wrapped each of those wires just like you normally would, down and back. I do down, back, and then a lot of times I'll do one more. I always use the razor blade or scissors or whatever and cut my tape off nice and clean. That way it folds over and seals tight. Otherwise, if you stretch it, it doesn't seal as good. So now I'm going to tape all this back together like one big harness and stuff the light back in the box, and then we'll go on to the other side. Okay, so on this side, because it's just straight connections, see if it'll focus, did these two. All I'm doing here is, if I can get the camera right, come on, I'm just taking the two wires, so it'd focus here. Still not really, can't see it very well, but I'm just taking them end to end and shoving them together, and then giving them a little bit of an opposite twist and soldering that way. So makes for a pretty stout connection that way. I always give them a little tug test and make sure. Okay, so I taped each wire individually to protect its connection. It's all bound up in there, and then I tape the whole thing just so that nothing gets pulled or tugged. Okay, a little bit of grease worked like a charm. Just grease out of the grease gun. I wiped it along the inside of the seal all the way around, and then I just gave a little bit of lubrication. The light popped right in. So that's the rear of the trailer. I'm going to get my mess cleaned up here and go up there, and we will wire the plug on. Okay. So got our plug here. It's going to have, I'm using a 7-way plug even though this is only 4-wire wire, because we have 7-way plugs on our truck. So I'm going to take this little set screw out, set it somewhere I don't lose it. We've got another screw in the back, holds the wire clamp. So I'm going to loosen that almost all the way, reach inside here, and pull this little holder up. After the set screws out, you should be able to reach in there. Oops. And pop that out. First thing you're going to want to do is take your wires before you do anything to them and stick them through that plug assembly. Otherwise, if you put this piece on first, you're screwed. It's also easier to do before you strip any of this. So then I like to come back here and figure about how much wire I got room for inside of the plug assembly before I strip anything. do the same technique that I did on the back with the razor blade here to get the casing off. So, casing's off. We've got our 4 wires here. You're only going to have to strip a little bit. It's good for the teeth. That's my wire strippers. So you're only going to want to strip just a little bit off the end, because that's all you'll need to clamp into this. Okay, so once you have all 4 stripped, plug here, and figure out which way it goes in. I know the color combinations here, so I'm going to pull. I know my sides. Are the lights. The left one is yellow for the yellow light. You're just going to, there's my camera lens, there it is. You're just going to undo your screw here and then take that stripped wire and it just shoves in there. And then you want to take and tighten your screw back down. Good and snug. Give that a little tug to make sure it stays. So, on a 7-way plug, like I'm using, green opposes the yellow exactly the way it would on the lights. And then, if I'm not mistaken, oh hell, what was it? Pretty sure ground was under the yellow and taillight is above it, but we'll have to plug it in and make sure I'm right. If not, I'll have to pull up my schematic. So open that up, hold it upside down so that it opens, feed our wire in there. The more wires that you get going in, the tougher this will become. So there's my tail. And let's feed the ground through the harness that way. Pull all your wires out straight. Same thing into the plug. Tighten it down. And then I give a pretty substantial tug just to make sure everything stayed. So then is where this comes into play. You're going to take your housing and it slides back over. It can only go on one way. You're going to want to find your little bitty set screw that you didn't lose. Don't drop it putting it in the hole. Get it started, and then you're going to run it down just so it comes inside of the housing, but you don't want to have too much lift right here or you'll pull this out of whack and it won't work in the truck. So Then I always give it just a little bit of a pressure in by squeezing it in my hand. That way there's no tension on the wires inside. When you run your clamp down, look inside of there when you're doing it, and make sure it's got the wires. That way if someone pulls the plug out by the wires, they don't rip them out of the plug. So that's installing the plug in a nutshell. I'm gonna get this hooked onto the truck and plug it in and see if I got the color coding right. Otherwise I'll open it back up and fix it. So, alright, and then just as a quick tester, I turn the taillights on and the flashers on the truck, plug the trailer in, and I got the color codes right. The hazards are flashing, the taillights are on, so that means that I got everything working. So that's trailer wiring 101 in a nutshell. Hopefully I can cut this down and make it a pretty quick video for you guys. Hopefully it'll be informative. Sorry I'm not talking great, super tired today, so hopefully this helps somebody out. As always, like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you gotta do. It'll help me out. Peace.